Campbell, and Carrie Francis, the mentors that shaped his outlook on life. In 1953, Ken borrowed a pair of hiking boots to scale his first mountain, Kilimanjaro. This arduous experience provided an insight into the world of mountaineering and variable lessons in self-discipline. Thereafter, he regularly climbed both Kilimanjaro and Mount Kenya. He took his youngest daughter, Julie, up Mount Kenya when she was only 10 years old, igniting in her a passion for sport and outdoor adventure. His ultimate mountaineering triumph was successfully leading the first Kenyan expedition on the Himalayas. While at Alliance, he met a young lady, Edith Getau, who was equally focused on her education and career, studying a year behind Ken at Alliance Girls at Makerere University. They courted while at Makerere, then married soon after her graduation in 1961. Throughout their marriage, Ken was always solicitous about Edith. His daughter Susan recalls how her father would always buy her mother dresses, while his son Getau noted how his father was ever the gentleman, never starting to eat before his wife. Their marriage was blessed with 5 children and filled with love and respect. From his first job as an intern clerk processing bursaries in the Ministry of Education, Ken's diligence and organizational skills led to a meteoric career, rising from teacher at Kagaro High School to deputy officer of higher education. In 1961, he was appointed officer in charge of higher education, responsible for placement of students both within Kenya and internationally. In 1962, the couple traveled together to England so Edith could pursue her teaching diploma at the University of London, while Ken was on attachment with the Hampshire County Education Office. They returned from England in February 1963, and in May, Matiba was promoted from senior education officer to permanent secretary. At only that 1 year old, he became the youngest PS in government. Forward ever, backward never was his mantra. Over the next 5 years, Matiba served as PS for Education, Home Affairs, Commerce and Industry, Cooperative and Cooperatives. He was known as a stern but fair taskmaster, always leading from the front at promoting Kenya with excellence while never allowing substandard work. In June 1968, he resigned from his position as PS to join the Kenya breweries. Despite his seniority within government, Ken was humble. He chose to learn brewery by starting at the bottom of the ladder as a management trainee in Tanzania, learning from production to marketing to operations. Over the next decade, he ascended through corporation to become executive chairman of the East African Breweries in 1977. The 70s were very active years for Matiba. During his period, Kenneth and Edith purchased a farm in Limuru. Their first few efforts with the potatoes and the pigs failed, but they eventually found their niche in dairy, horticulture, and the flowers. The Muru was their family home. His daughter Ivy recalls the long drive to school in Nairobi as precious time spent with her busy father. Ken and the friends invested where they could, diversifying his business interest into various industries and the housing projects such as the Dakar Road and the golf course estate in Nairobi. Together with Stephen Smith, the son of his Alliance teacher and a longtime friend, they purchased Jardini Beach Hotel, then acquired Hillcrest Preparatory School, and subsequently built the Hillcrest Secondary School in Karen. Matiba was keenly aware that overseas expertise was required to build Kenya, and that those expatriates required schools with the internationally recognized curriculum for their children. By 1979, Matiba was ready for a new chapter. For many years, he had supported development projects in Keharu, so now he was ready for elective politics. The political campaign of '79 was a brutal introduction. His son Raymond actively joined the campaign team. And at one station where he questioned the manipulation of ballot boxes, he was promptly threatened with a gun held at his head. In February 1980, the court ruled Kenneth Matiba was the duly elected MP for Biri. He thereafter delved into what he loved most, impacting people's lives through his skills, ideas, and hard work. In 1983, he was appointed cabinet minister for culture and social services. Under his stewardship, he felt intensely gratified at being able to oversee projects that placed Kenya firmly on the international map, such as the visit for Pope John Paul II at the UN Women's Decade Conference with over 20,000 delegates. In 1987, he was moved to the Ministry of Health, where he was known for his mantra, "Cleanliness is next to godliness." He toured more than 40 health facilities across the country. His visits were not announced, as he needed to understand the experience that ordinary Kenyans encountered at public health facilities. The dilapidated building, failing equipment, and unpaid health workers dismayed him. Together with the Director of Medical Services, Tom Oganda, he embarked on an ambitious campaign to centralize the payment and dispatch resources to the hospitals and health centers. They introduced centralized government purchasing of drugs. The team made significant strides, but in 1988, Matiba was once again transferred, this time to the Ministry of Transport and Communications. Disappointment to leave his agenda unfinished, he nevertheless shouldered the new role with his usual vigor. He was now leading the church in streamlining Kenya Railways, Kenya Airways, and the Kenya Ports Authority. Matiba's success at keeping the Auditor General happy by delivering projects on budget and on time upset those that were minting money from the system. So a campaign to discredit him started brewing. By December 1989, he could no longer serve government that he was ethically at odds with. So he resigned from his position as cabinet minister. His resignation deepened the witch hunt, subjecting him to intense investigation. By not straying from his principles, this intimidating threat did not make him cower. Soon, Matiba and other advocates for change publicly questioned the de facto single-party system. On that May 1990, Kenneth Matiba and Charles Robia held a press conference advocating for the repeal of Section 2A of the 1982 Constitution, for the return of democratic multi-party politics in Kenya. This led to intense harassment, the loss of political friends, as well as personal attacks on his family. These were difficult times for Matiba family, but they were united, resolute in convictions. A dark time for Matiba, but for Kenya, it was darkness before dawn. On 4th July 1990, Kenneth Matiba was arrested and detained. On the 7th of July, the infamous Sabasaba rallies took place. During detention, he was victim of sustained poisoning that culminated in a stroke in June 1991. This triggered his immediate release. It took a full year convalescence in London before Ken returned to Kenya in 1992. During this period, Kenya underwent a political metamorphosis with the 1992 election open to multi-party political parties. Matiba ran for president under the Ford Asili banner and came second out of 4 main contenders. He believed the elections were rigged, but in an unprecedented move, the Court of Appeal did not allow Matiba to contest the result. Nonetheless, he was zealous as official leader of the opposition, working with Honorable Mwai Kibaki and the late Jaramogi Oginga Odinga. They presented a common front on issues affecting the Kenyan people. Matiba's health steadily deteriorated over the following years, eventually forced him to retire from the public limelight. Despite the health challenge he faced over the last 27 years, Ken was never bitter. He never raged about those who caused his incapacitation, but rather focused his energies on family, friends, and life. Each day, he fought through pain and discomfort. His last year was spent at a slower pace, spending quality time with his growing family. They say that the measure of a man, we measure a man not in what he gained, but in what he gave, not in his station, but in whether he had a heart, but in where he stands in a moment of comfort and convenience, but where he stands in times of challenge and controversy. And finally, not in how he died, but in how he lived. Kenneth Stanley Jido Matiba was, by all accounts, a remarkable man, a man dedicated to and unwavering in his principles of hard work, excellence, generosity, and tenacity. a man whose dedication to the country and the people he loved was exemplified in all that he did. May this great man of Kenya rest in peace. And now I give myself permission to say how I know Matiba just for 1 minute. Because you either like and love Matiba or you detest him and hate him. Me, I'm in the first category. We are great friends. We are together at Makerere. And when I joined government in 1962, he was in government. When he was permanent secretary in government, I was myself in senior positions in government, in the treasury. And when he retired in 1968, voluntarily retired because it was fed up of slow movement of the government, I took over from him as my first job as a permanent secretary. So I know him well. The family, I know them, all of them. Our children and their children grow up basically together. But now, I want to say a simple thing. Political, because Matiba is a politician. When he brought in this movement of changing the Kenya 1982 constitution, he created a lot of political enemies. So, eventually, when he was detained on the 4th of July, the month following, there were 2 motions of adjournment in the Kenya Parliament. The first one was 10th of August, and actually, the mover of the motion was our longtime friend, and his longtime friend, Kalonzo Musyoka. So, the people who spoke for those 2 weeks highlighted what they thought was wrong with the Matiba's proposals to change the constitution basically at once. Therefore, simply because I said I can state this, those who spoke were Kalonzo Musyoka, Dr. Godana, David Mweje, Bob Francis Jalango, Mwai Kibaki, Nicholas Biwott, Professor George Saitoti, Zachary Onyoka, George Muhoho, Philip Liki, Josh Mangori, John Keane, Joseph Kamodo, and Francis Olkapalo. So you can see the other side, the government side, they were so horrified